This is a story of Christmas celebration. For 3 years, Uju and her family had not gone home for the Christmas celebration, a tradition that her sisters-in-law had faithfully upheld every year. This year, however, she felt it was important to return, especially with her husband and their child, whom their grandparents had been eagerly waiting to meet since his birth. As they touched down at Enugu airport, a dry Harmattan breeze brushed against her skin, filling her with nostalgia. She realized how much she had missed the village, especially the festive atmosphere and the beloved Christmas jollof rice her mother-in-law made, a flavor she had longed for all these years. When they arrived at the village house, they were met with joy and warmth, with neighbors and family members celebrating their homecoming. Uju's mother-in-law, Mrs. Bernard, welcomed them with open arms, delighted to see her grandchild. Uju's arrival had stirred up unspoken tension within the family. Her sister-in-law, Mrs. Patterson, felt a pang of jealousy watching Uju shine at the church in her stylish dress and flawless makeup, something Mrs. Patterson herself had yearned for but couldn't afford that season. Frustration boiled within her as Uju's presence highlighted her own unmet desires, and it only grew when they returned home from the church. The long-anticipated moment to prepare the Christmas jollof rice had finally come. This was usually Mrs. Patterson's territory, a time-honored tradition where she cooked while the other women gathered to watch and chat. However, this time she decided with a touch of bitterness to step aside, insisting that other women take charge while she watched from the sidelines. It was a break in tradition, and it caused quite a stir in the household. Uju, with her manicured nails and flowing hair, hesitated to jump into the kitchen. Meanwhile, Mrs. Bernard, Uju's mother-in-law, seemed lost in thought, self-conscious about having daughters and daughter-in-law, and didn't feel up to cooking herself. This left a palpable tension in the air. Everyone, from the children to the men, watched, wondering who would finally step up to cook. The atmosphere was tensed as it became clear that no one wanted to yield, creating an unspoken battle of wills. Who would ultimately prepare the Christmas jollof rice? This is a big question. Finally, they agreed to enter the kitchen and cook. The Christmas meal everyone had looked forward to turned out to be a disaster. After much reluctance and tension, the women finally prepared the jollof rice, but it was cooked hurriedly, fueled more by resentment than holiday cheer. When the food was served, disappointment spread across the table as everyone discovered it was filled with stones, the result of careless, frustrated preparation. The festive spirit felt crushed. Grandma, saddened by the turn of events, could hardly bear to see her family at odds on such a special day. She was bitter and felt disappointed in her daughters and daughter-in-law. Eventually, the truth came out. Mrs. Patterson admitted her frustration about not receiving the clothes and jewelry she had hoped for, while Uju confessed her reluctance to participate in cooking, feeling detached and uncomfortable in the kitchen. Both women's feelings had boiled over into the food itself, and everyone was left with a bitter taste not just from the meal, but from the tensions between them. Just as the day seemed ruined, Mrs. Bernard stepped in to save the Christmas celebration. She quickly gathered fresh ingredients and returned to the kitchen. This time, she prepared the jollof rice with care, filling the house with a mouth-watering aroma that everyone had longed for. When she brought the steaming pot of jollof rice to the table, it felt like a true Christmas feast. With each bite, smiles returned to the faces around the table, and the warmth that had seemed lost was restored. By the end of the meal, the family's holiday spirit had been rekindled. Mrs. Bernard's act of kindness reminded everyone of the real meaning of Christmas: love, forgiveness, and family. The women made amends, grateful for the peace and joy restored in the house, and they all resolved to take a trip around the beautiful city of Enugu. Christmas would not be complete without this trip. The kids' Christmas in Enugu turned out to be a thrilling adventure filled with unforgettable moments. They explored several popular tourist sites, starting with the majestic new Ijele Masquerade sculpture at the Ono Asata roundabout, a towering symbol of Igbo heritage that left them astonished. From there, they ventured to Polo Park, where they enjoyed rides and games, and then headed out to Awhum Waterfall, captivated by its serene beauty and cascading waters. The adventure continued at Eziago Cave, where they discovered hidden chambers and listened to tales of the cave's ancient mysteries, followed by a visit to the sparkling Idodo River. They also spent time at Newberry's Park, a charming place where they could play freely, and the zoo estate where they marveled at sight of animals at close range. At the newly constructed Enugu International Conference Center, the kids were amazed by the modern architecture, and they were thrilled to spot 5-star hotels around the city, each towering with elegance. They also explored the Aquanabium International Airport, gazing at planes taking off and landing, and then visited Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, home to the beloved Enugu Rangers International football team, where they imagined themselves as stars playing football. The holiday wouldn't have been complete without attending lively masquerade performances where dancers and drummers filled the air with beats and energy, adding an exciting cultural touch to their experience. With each stop, the kids collected memories and stories that made this Christmas in Enugu an enchanting one, filled with laughter, discovery, and the vibrant spirit of the season. As the celebration ends happily, everyone is looking forward to make next Christmas even better. Let the spirit of love, forgiveness, sharing be with us in this festive season. Let us share love to others with our neighbors. Let this Christmas celebration bring peace, harmony, and togetherness amongst our family members. Enjoy the festive season.